Welcome, everyone, to another episode of What's Working with Cam Marston. I'm Cam Marston, and What's Working is brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. We thank you for listening in. If you're a fan of the show, you know that our focus is workplace and workforce trends, and we enjoy exploring the workplace trends that are changing the landscape of the workplace. We enjoy meeting the people who are shaping the landscape of the workplace. And tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. We're calling this the Holiday Show, and our focus tonight is going to be on gratitude. And while gratitude is not exactly a workplace trend, it is something that all the people that I've interviewed in the nearly 2 years we've been doing this show have in common about their success. They can cite something or some things or some people that have made them successful in the process. So the show focus tonight is about gratitude. And the people that I talk to, the business owners, the leaders, whatever it may be, they never actually say, I practice gratitude regularly, but they will make a reference to something they're thankful for, or something that's happened that they're thankful for. Gratitude is a constant theme, and tonight we're going to explore it. Most of these people cite hard work and opportunity with the things that have made them successful. They're grateful for their ability to work. They're grateful for the opportunities they've been given. And let me give you a sense of where we're going with this conversation tonight. First up on the phone will be Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, PhD. I first heard Tal about 10 years ago, and I'll tell you a little bit more about him when we get him on the phone in a little bit. He wrote a book, I'll give you insights briefly, called Happier, with the basic premise this: if I go to ask anybody, are you happy? The more than likely their answer will be, yeah, I'm happy. But if I ask them the question, could you be happier? They're more than likely to say, yeah, I could be happier. So Tal wrote a book called Happier. And one of the key components of the book that he suggests will make you happier is a very developed and keen sense of gratitude. So we're going to talk to Tal about the importance of gratitude in a plan for life as well as success in business. We'll move from Tal to my two in-studio guests today. I almost said ghost. You're certainly not ghost. You're right here in front of me. My two in-studio guests today. Stephanie Anderton went through an extraordinary experience a little while back, and I'm not going to give you too much information on it. I want her to tell you about it. But the result of which was a sense of gratitude. And I hadn't met Stephanie until tonight, but everyone that I know and that knows her would tell you she's on fire for life and a sense of gratitude that is absolutely compelling and draws people into her. We'll have Stephanie tell her story, and then I'm going to ask her a lot of questions about how her life has changed since and how gratitude has influenced her. Following Stephanie, or along with Stephanie, I'll have Rob Stuardi. Rob has been a friend of mine for some 40-some-odd years. Dealt with, and I'm not going to give you too much of his story either, but it includes Whipple surgery, and if you know what I'm saying, then you know the significance of that, at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. And the fact that he's here with us tonight after going through what he went through and expresses an extraordinary sense of gratitude and an entitlement attitude around Gatorade, which we'll talk about in a little while as well, will give you a new respect for him and how he approaches life. We're going to take your questions. We're going to take your calls. The number is 343-0106. And when we come back from break, we're going to have Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar. Last time I talked to him, he was at Harvard University. It'll be interesting to see what he's doing these days. Folks, it's the Gratitude Show before the holidays. We'll be right back after these messages.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please move forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are, so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
Hey, this is Cam Marston. If sales in your business comes from prospecting to create leads that lead to sales, I want to tell you about Sales Up Coach, a cloud-based system created for the next generation of sales professional. There's a big difference between being busy and being effective. And Sales Up Coach helps salespeople who rely on prospecting uncover which of their activities produce the greatest results. Over time, Sales Up Coach's machine learning hones salespeople's schedule to focus only on activities that generate the most bang for the buck. Your sales team interacts with Sales Up Coach on their smartphone, and sales managers can instantly generate reports to see who is on goal and who may need additional support. Go online and take a look at this new and very powerful sales tool. Go to salesupcoach.com/Cam Marston. Watch your sales team's productivity change.
Is your business growing? Does your existing metal building need an update? Expansion? New roof? With almost 20 years of experience, Mosley Building Systems is the leading metal building contractor along the Gulf Coast. We are your local design build experts. From expansion to new construction or repairs, we can guide you through all aspects of your project. Mosley Building Systems works with each client to fulfill their vision. For more information, go to mosleybuildingsystems.com.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. And on the line is an old contact that I had back years ago. I heard a presentation of his in Boston. He's a former Harvard professor. His book, he's got two of them, one called Happier, the second one, The Pursuit of Perfect, that I'm aware of. Tal, there may be more since then. This is Tal Ben-Shahar, and Tal is a PhD. And his presentation was really moving to me. And I've bought a number of his books since then and given them out to friends. Tal, we want to first welcome to What's Working. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Cam. Great to be here.
The conversation today is about gratitude, and it's our holiday season conversation. And we've got a couple of upcoming guests who have undergone some amazing, physically transformative experiences and whose lives are very different as a result. I want to begin to set the conversation up, though, with your thoughts and insights on what gratitude is from an academic point of view and how it has the potential to change people.
Yeah, so, I've been keeping a gratitude journal since the 19th of September, 1999. And I actually started it as a result of of Oprah on one of her programs talking about it. It was just a few years later, in around 2003, that research started to come out on gratitude. And what the research clearly shows is that people who keep a gratitude journal are not just happier and more optimistic, they're also more likely to achieve their goals. They're more generous toward other people, and they're physically healthier. So it actually strengthens our immune system. So Oprah, as she often is, right about the importance of keeping a gratitude journal.
Tell me about your journal and what are the moments or the thoughts or the incidents that qualify to go into the journal? What is gratitude the way you write about it?
Yeah, good. So the important thing about keeping a gratitude journal is to include both big and small events, very important, very significant, as well as relatively minor ones. So, for instance, every night before going to bed, I would express gratitude for God and for my family, as well as for maybe something nice that I ate. Or something that I saw on the street. So when we open ourselves up to the multitude of gratitudes, that's when we contribute to our happiness most.
So it's big and small. There's not significant incidents that only require you to write about it. It's not mundane things. Exactly.
And it's okay if we repeat things. So every day I write about God and my family. The challenge is, how do you keep it fresh, or how do you remain mindful because it's very easy, if I've written it 300 times, to basically take it for granted that, yes, I wrote my family again. And the key is to really experience it. So, for instance, when I write family, I close my eyes and I imagine my kids, my wife, my parents. What do I really mean, and how meaningful they are to me. So experiencing the experience as opposed to just going through the motion is important when expressing gratitude.
Here's a strange question, Tal. If I were to meet somebody that I feel like has a grasp on the gratitude that they have of their life and the people around them, much like what you've described. How is this person revealed to me? What do I see in a person who practices an attitude of gratitude on a regular basis? How are they different than the rest of us?
You know, they're different, or they become different as they express gratitude. So, you know, wherever a person is in their levels of well-being, they can always become happier. And one of the ways to become happier is through the expression of gratitude. So they have sort of, more of a gait in their walk. They're more appreciative of other people. They smile more often. If they express gratitude on a regular basis. And the interesting thing is that it's a self-reinforcing loop, meaning the more gratitude I express, the happier I'll be. The happier I am, the more grateful I will be. And that will lead to more joy, and on in an upward spiral. The problem is that there is also a downward spiral. And many people who are not grateful become less happy, and the less happy they become, the less grateful they are, and on and on. The nice thing, of course, is that we can break this downward spiral literally at every moment in our lives. And the importance of having a ritual around gratitude is that we're constantly entering or participating in that upward spiral.
What about people who have gone through some very traumatic experiences? My two guests that are upcoming have lived through some things that I think anybody could obtain the position after going through what they've been through, illnesses as well as significant injuries that have transformed their body. They could be bitter. They could be angry. But what is it about significant events that has the ability to change some people's outlook towards the world on the other side, whereas on others it may embitter them? What do you know about that?
Yes, so there's a lot of research, of course, in psychology on trauma, and there are basically there are many, but two main different take-homes from trauma. One is a downward spiral, very often associated with post-traumatic stress disorder. The other is an upward spiral associated largely with post-traumatic growth. One of the distinguishing characteristics between these two approaches is our ability to appreciate, our ability to be grateful. People who find, and sometimes they struggle to find, but eventually they find things to appreciate in their lives, they generally tend to be on the post-traumatic growth side in terms of their response. And usually it is a choice. And some people make that choice, other people choose otherwise. And making that choice means struggling through that choice, because it's not easy, especially when the wound is fresh. But the key is to maintain, to sustain this commitment to appreciation. And by the way, part of the appreciation can also be for the painful experience. This is not to say to be happy that the painful experience happened, but it's to find things to appreciate in it. For instance, there was research on people who had cancer, and they were asked to find benefits of the cancer. And what did they find? For example, they said, well, I'm closer to my family than I'd ever been before. Or I realize how strong I am. I didn't know that. I had the strength within me. Or I'm much more appreciative of life. I took so much for granted before. Now, the request wasn't to see cancer as a good thing or to be happy about having it, but given that it happened, what do I do with it? Many people say things happen for the best. I must say I don't necessarily believe that. However, what I do believe is that while things do not necessarily happen for the best, some people are able to make the best of things that happen. And one of the ways to do that is through appreciation and gratitude.
Tal, I've never heard the expression post-traumatic growth until you just used it right now. Is suffering necessary for gratitude and happiness?
Some suffering is necessary. You know, whenever I ask, whether it's students or clients, I ask them, tell me about the experience where you learned the most, when you felt like you grew the most. Invariably, it's a hard experience. Invariably, it's a challenge and difficulties. This doesn't mean we can't learn from ecstatic experiences, from joyful experiences, but most of our learning comes from hardship and difficulties. And just this fact can help us be more appreciative of not just the ups, but also of the downs of life, not just of the joy, but also of the sorrow.
Tal Ben-Shahar, PhD, author of the book Happier, and former professor at Harvard. Are you still at Harvard, Tal, or you moved on?
No, I'm teaching at Columbia University now. We're living in New York City.
I didn't realize that. Well, Tal, I want to express some deep-felt, heartfelt gratitude. When I heard your presentation in Boston, it changed me. I bought your book and have read it numerous times. It stays by my bedside, and when I need it, I go to it, and I've given it to gifts to other people as well because I knew they would benefit from it like I did. I want to thank you so much for your insight and for the work that you do. It's important and it matters, and I'm grateful for it.
Thank you very much, Cam. Thank you.
Folks, when we get back, you're going to hear from two people local to the city of Mobile, Alabama, with some remarkable stories to tell and their take on gratitude. You're listening to What's Working. We'll be right back. I don't think any of us really know how many people we influence. Stephanie and Rob have had a profound effect on so many people, and I'm sure that number will increase after this show. Coastal Alabama Community College is doing some great things to help their students and community. They have a veterans counselor on staff who assists veterans and their families reaching their educational goals. They have a success center, a learning lab, which offers free tutoring to students. And they participate in the Educational Talent Search Program, a federal program which provides academic, career, and financial counseling to economically disadvantaged students. And these are just a few of the great things they do at Coastal Alabama Community College. To learn more, go to coastalalabama.edu.
I'm Matt Armbruster with Ransom Ministries. We help people in our community that most others have given up on. Please donate your unwanted electronics to Ransom Recycling. We teach life skills, job readiness, and job creation through our electronic recycling program. We take anything with a cord. Find us at ransomministries.com, or you can call us at 251-751-0044.
Coastal Alabama Community College is 3 amazing colleges combined into one incredible institution. And that means we're all together. For more sports, 15 more locations, more friends, more one-on-one time with instructors, way more activities, more courses, a lot more courses, and more success for all of us. Pretty much more of everything. Coastal Alabama Community College is where everyone is. All together! Coastal Alabama Community College. Register today.
The Community Foundation of South Alabama links donors to philanthropy, builds networks across 8 counties, and builds dreams for those in need. Through our donors' gifts, we make investments that enhance our community via initiatives with broad impact. Working with you, we build communities. Contact us at communityfoundationsa.org.
You're listening to What's Working with Cam Marston. I'm Cam Marston. This is brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College, and I want to thank Tal for his time with us on the phone. A number of things were said in that conversation that I want to use to get us started here in the studio. And just as a reminder, we are live tonight. It's usually not a live show, but we are live tonight. The number is 343-0106. You can text that number. You can call that number. We'd love to have you as a part of the guest. Let's begin. Post-traumatic growth It's a term that I hadn't heard before since Tal used it on the call just a moment ago, and it is something that I want to explore in this conversation today, and that'll get us into our guests. Stephanie Anderton. Stephanie, welcome to What's Working. Thank you for your time here tonight.
Thanks for having me, Cam.
Let's begin with your story, a little bit about what has happened to you and what has gotten you into this remarkable position and attitude towards the life that goes around you. Tell us your story.
Okay, so in a nutshell, in October of 2008, I was a newlywed. I was expecting our first child and found out that I had triple-negative breast cancer, stage 2B. And so very quickly, and I was very fortunate that I didn't have to wait too long to see doctors. And very quickly, we were able to get a treatment plan in place. And within 2.5 weeks, I had undergone a full left breast mastectomy. And through the surgery, they took out 7 lymph nodes on the left side because the type of cancer that I had was likely to return. So after the surgery and when the results all came back, we knew that it had completely been removed. And so from there, we decided, my husband and I, had decided that I would wait to start chemo. We were prepared to start chemo. I was at that point going to be in my 3rd trimester, which was going to be safe for my daughter, Hannah. And so as a result, we decided to wait. So I had her a couple months later, and when she was just shy of 3 weeks old, I underwent chemotherapy for 4 months and was very grateful that I had a community of family and friends that wanted to love on a newborn. So that made it real easy. After that, I was able to get myself well from the chemo and had my right breast removed, which was always part of the plan. And in September of 2009, I was grateful to get back to work.
Yeah, no kidding.
It had been a long 11 months and a very simultaneously happy and anxious 11 months.
So there were a number of decisions that you had to make along the way. And first, the diagnosis was awful. However, the pregnancy at the same time was compounded it a little bit. You were, I would say, well, what were you? Freaking out? Is that a mild term?
It's so, yes, I did kind of have a moment of freaking out, but you know, I'm a believer, and God very graciously just walked me through that and gave me a calm and a peace. And so through this period of time that you would expect so much anxiety, and there was a little bit of that, to be honest, it was just very simultaneously very peaceful. There was nothing I could do to change the outcome. I knew everything was in God's hands, and it was just a very reassuring period of time in situation. There was, you know, concern about Hannah and whether or not any of the procedures done while I was still pregnant would affect her. So we were just very, very blessed not to have to make so many of those decisions.
I want to talk about your faith. I want to talk about how you were before and how you were after and what your friends would say your change is. I want to get this, I'm going to get your perspective on how you evolved and how this commentary or this conversation this evening of gratitude has changed who you are today. But before we do that, I want to get Rob Stuardi in this. Rob, thank you for your time. I know you're on the road a lot. Welcome to What's Working.
Thank you, Cam. Glad to be here.
I want to hear your story. I know a little bit about it, but take us through the traumatic experiences that you had.
So it started around 2012, 2013, and I ended up having bouts of pancreatitis and was in and out of the hospital for about 2 years and had multiple tests done and weren't sure exactly what was causing the pancreatitis. And then I got sick again in early 2015, and they found what's called an IPMN, and I don't think I can pronounce all that means, but it was a growth in my pancreas that was blocking the duct. And at that time, the only way to make it better was to do the Whipple surgery, which is a huge word. Didn't know what it meant, but we knew it was a very big surgery. My wife and I sought out multiple doctors. We ended up having the Whipple done at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. When they were doing the Whipple, or during the Whipple surgery, the growth, when they removed it, they ended up finding out that it was malignant. They were able to remove it, get safe margins. I did not have to have chemo or radiation, but I am now, as of November of 17th, 4 years cancer-free. I go every 6 months back to Johns Hopkins and get a CT scan and tested.
Now, what I hear about the Whipple surgery, and so dispel the rumor if this is what it is. Most people typically go through the Whipple surgery and they're put on hospice. There's not a whole lot of folks that go through this, that deal with what you've got, that have a prognosis beyond that you could see on one calendar. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate, and totally blessed by the fact that I had the growth. Some of the doctors had said if they would not have found that in 6 months, I would have had full-blown pancreatic cancer, which could or could not have been could have been inoperable. So truly blessed that it was found.
Yeah. So a lot of folks have had these traumatic, life-changing events, and they talk about the event waking them up, that life is sweeter now, that everything is a little bit more special than it used to be. That, and the guy that checked me into my flight this afternoon, I said, it looks like a beautiful day outside. This is in Washington, D.C. this morning. He said, every day above the ground is a beautiful day. And a lot of people say that, and it's just kind of what you say in passing other people. Tell me what it means to you, Stephanie.
I don't think I've ever really been asleep, but you do find gratitude in small things. And for some of us, it does take a life-changing experience to do that. I'm thankful to have hair. I went for 6 months with no hair. I'm thankful to have that. I'm thankful that I was here and not in Atlanta. I had recently relocated back from Atlanta, and my family's here. What would that have been like for me if I was in Atlanta, far away from my family, for them to care for me or to find care down here? We have great doctors at the Mitchell Cancer Institute, and I was able to get in there, and so it's not been, it hasn't been an awakening for me necessarily, but it has changed my gratitude for small things.
Yeah.
Going back to work, that was huge for me. I mean, you think it'd be so fun to be a stay-at-home mom, but when you are in a period of time where you're unable to work, being able to work is a blessing.
To choose to be able to do it.
That's right.
Rob, were you asleep before?
Yeah, I think I was asleep on a lot of things. I mean, I think it really awoke me with a vengeance. Made me really, realize that time is short. I was taking for granted a lot of things, and I was a very active person, but maybe didn't display or show my gratefulness or thankfulness as much as I probably should have. And, I definitely do that a lot more than I did prior to.
So would your spouses say, oh, there's a clear before and after in these two people? Would your spouses say, oh, gosh, they were tolerable before, but then they've come through this thing and now they're quote unquote awake and alive, and golly, I just can't quiet them. You guys can't stop laughing. What's the joke?
I'll let Rob answer that one.
Well, my wife would definitely say yes to that, and she's grateful in some ways that the awakening did happen, and she's thankful. I'd say yes.
Yeah, Stephanie.
I was going to let Rob just answer that one.
You're going to toss that hot potato. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing how you approach things differently as we go along. We've talked about it in a broad sense, but perhaps how your days are unique, how you approach your work. This is a workplace show, how you approach your work differently as we go forward. And then some messages that I want you to get across to the listeners to say, here's what you don't realize that you have. Because a lot of the philosophy is we already have more than what we need. What does that look like? And I want to hear your comments on that. And we'll talk about that after this break. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College, and we'll be right back.
Investing, connecting, leading, providing. The Community Foundation of South Alabama brings together philanthropic assets to make Southwest Alabama a better place to live, work, and play. We link donors to philanthropy. Working with you, we build communities. Contact us at communityfoundationsa.org.
Think about your home. What do you see? Do you just see two stories or the stories of your toddler's first steps? Now think about your car. Do you see an odometer reading or your kids reading in the back seat? Other insurance companies just see a house. They just see a car. But a State Farm agent sees what your home and your car really mean to you. So why not give them the protection they deserve?
You can reach me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, at AllisonHorner.com.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. In the studio with me tonight is Stephanie Anderton and Rob Stuardi. The studio lines are open. Phone or text 343-0106. Let us hear your questions or your thoughts about how your life has changed and how you have had a extraordinary event happen that has given you a feeling of gratitude and how it has changed the way you interact with people. And I'd really like to hear the applications in your workplace. This is, after all, what we said before, a workplace show. Let's talk about how this has affected your career, your relationships with your colleagues, etc., in the workplace. I want to go back to you two, and Rob, we'll start with you. I know there are outlooks you wish you could share with your friends and your colleagues that you feel will help them. But you're a father of, what did you say, 2 or 3 kids?
Three
kids. How are you trying to give this sense of gratitude, this new outlook on life, to your children so that they don't have to go through a traumatic event in order to appreciate it?
Well, I've always been a huge supporter of my wife and kids, even in the past before this. But, this kind of refocused me in knowing that I'm a role model to my kids and that, my number one job is to get them to heaven, is my opinion. And, in the past, maybe I wasn't as aggressive with doing that, but I think that being a role model is a positive step in the awakening that I am.
Would they agree with your wife that there's a clear before and after to you?
Yes, and one interesting story on this is that my daughter had asked me to go to Outback. I'm sure you've heard of Outback.
Yeah, sure.
And prior to, let's just call it my awakening, I was not going to go to Outback. A whole weekend praying, no TV, it's during football season, etc. Well, after this, my daughter asked me to go, and we went. I had an awesome time. I've actually been a coach and have been 6 times since then and did not ever go prior to that. So, yeah, I would say that they have noticed the awakening.
Yeah, and you're trying to get this through to them. Are there practices that you have around your house, routines around your house that have developed as a result?
Well, I think, just always being thankful and grateful and respectful to everyone. And, you're living with 3 daughters, wife, busy schedule, work, but, slow it down, try to be thankful and grateful and act that way towards them and towards others. And I think that's the best way to do it.
Stephanie, what are you doing with your own kids as a result of your illness and your new outlook on life?
So mine are younger. I have Hannah, who's 10, and Tommy is 9. He's my miracle baby, too. I realized through my experience how much I depended on other people. And so I really try to instill in them for them to make other people happy. My challenge to them when we're doing carpool drop-off is give 3 people a compliment today. Play with somebody who's looking like they don't have a friend, because that makes you happy. Doing for others can make you happy. And I realized through my situation and having to be the one to kind of take a step back and let others do for me, that there's gratitude on both sides of that. There's blessings on both sides of that. I want my children to be a blessing to somebody else. And, I do the best I can.
Yeah.
God's been very gracious to us.
Well, the faith comment continues to come. You've mentioned it. Rob's mentioned it throughout back. I think we need to carve some time out for that conversation. So when I drop my kids off at school, and I want to put this out, the faith conversation out just a little bit further. When I drop off my kids off at school, my comment is, I don't care what you do until you get caught. So my attitude is a little bit different than perhaps yours is, huh?
Well, we have our mornings where
all of us do.
I'm crying when I'm leaving, but I do try to be positive for them.
Yeah.
You know, and my mom calls me the eternal optimist. I mean, it's really, I really and truly, I'm happy, I'm joyful, I'm blessed.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Talk to me about, you're in a customer service business where you're treating customers well is critical to the success of your job. Is that safe to say?
Yes, I'm a flight attendant.
You're a flight attendant, yeah.
I get to serve everybody some drinks and hope that I don't ever have to do any of the emergency procedures.
But I want to talk to you about how these experiences have changed your approach on a day-to-day on a work basis. And Rob, you better get your pencil out because this one's coming to you next.
I think it really just kind of goes back. I mean, you said it in your intro, just I'm thankful that I can work.
Yeah.
Not every day is easy.
Yeah.
Not every day is easy to get up and leave my family for 3 days. But I'm truly thankful, and I'm very blessed that I'm healthy, that I can work, that I have a great job. I don't see it any other way.
So you've got an unruly passenger, and you and I know Rob's a Delta medallion flyer, just a diamond medallion, just like I am. We see the unruly passengers. We see them asking for outrageous things. We see an entitlement attitude, and in the past, perhaps that may have set you over the edge. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna do something or say something or think something today.
I do still have some of those that are just a little over the top unruly, but it's a minute.
Yeah.
It's just a minute. I don't know what they've been through, and the way that we are now, by the time they get to me, they've been on a computer screen, they've looked at their phone, they haven't had a person in their face.
Yeah.
I'm the first person for them to vent to.
Right.
And I've learned to just not take everything so personally.
Yeah.
They're fresh. I could look like their ex-wife for all I know,
Right.
like just not to take it all so personally and just try to empathize. I've learned a lot about empathy through this whole journey as well. And it's just a minute.
Yeah.
It's not forever.
Rob, your wife and your children say they can clearly see a before and after in you. Would your regular customers say the same?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
well, first, you're half the size that you used to be, aren't you?
Yes, I am half the size I used to be. I was always a hard worker, always traveled. I mean, I travel about 42 weeks a year, and I'm on the road a lot, but I interact with customers. But I think a little more pep in my step, a little bit more focused. I think, I'm so blessed. My company, when I was so sick, I'd been with them for about 3 years. I never had to take short-term disability. They stood behind me, came to see me when I got back from Baltimore. They really supported me. And I think when I look back and after the Whipple surgery, I'm just a better person. And I'm a better person to people. And look, we all have our bad days, and you have a short temper. And like Stephanie said, with maybe some people, and you have that phone call that, you're not too happy about. But hey, take a minute, take a deep breath. Don't blast the email that you type. Retype it after you've thought about it. And I mean, that's from wisdom too, and age, But I think that everybody at work would definitely say that I'm changed.
Yeah. For the better. Let's clarify that.
Yes, for the better.
Okay, because you were a lot of fun back in the day. And I'm trying
Don't tell all our secrets, Cam.
I'm trying just to get you to say, yeah, things have changed. I do miss that, but you're simply not going to do that. Now, gratitude, what we've talked about, and what you guys have referred to. And I'm going to save the faith conversation until we come back from this next break, because I'm really curious about this. But I do want to talk about now community. The community that has developed around you. Rob, you mentioned it with your work, the community of the workplace. I assume you mentioned the family, Stephanie, that's around you as you went through this. The community that developed, and perhaps prior to these events, you weren't aware that the interactions that you were having with people and you'd bump into on a regular basis would become a support community. Talk to me about the community that helped you through and how they've changed you. Stephanie.
Well, that's absolutely right. There's nothing like an unfortunate situation to make you feel loved, and for people to rally around you and remind you of that. And every single person, whether it's been a prayer or a meal or an errand, every single person has played such an intricate part of making this such a better journey and a livable journey. Mm-hmm. But that's what it is. It's a journey. I mean, it's not, it's not my death sentence. It's my story. And so that community that comes up, you have some that, you would expect, and then others that just rain blessings on you.
Yeah.
And so
unique perhaps to the Deep South. I don't know about anybody else. You must have just been covered up in casseroles.
Oh, my gosh. I don't want anybody that gave us any to know, but we had to give some stuff away.
Isn't that the way?
We were all eating.
There's hopes, there's thoughts and prayers, which we see on social media a lot. Oh, I'm sending you my thoughts and prayers. And my response is, I don't need your dang thoughts and prayers. I need a casserole. I'm just putting the refrigerator on the front porch. Don't knock. I just put it outside.
Right.
That's when my wife had her knee surgery. Rob, community.
Yeah, couldn't have done it without it. Family and friends, you can't replace them. And we were so blessed to have everybody. When we got back from Baltimore, I could not eat. The surgery was November 17th. I don't think I ate until December 25th. And it had nothing to do with all the casseroles we got because my wife and children ate all of them. But, just there to comfort, whether it was me, her, or the kids, to take. Robin went with me up to Baltimore. The other children did not. The family and friends and community, the church. Father Shields, gave a blessing over me before we went to Baltimore. You just can't do any of that without the community, family, friends, and your my employer too. So it was wonderful.
Do you meet people that have gone through traumatic experiences like you guys have gone through and immediately know that they get it? Is there a shared bond between you?
I think so. With my situation, as you can imagine, breast cancer is just so common. I've called it the household flu. It just seems like it's just popping up everywhere now, where 11 years ago when I was going through it, it didn't seem like it was, so much. And I know what they're going through, and they know what I've been, they understand that. I get calls all the time to, would you talk to somebody? A friend of mine was just diagnosed. My family member was just diagnosed. And so, yeah, it's a bond. It's a sister brotherhood. It is not just women.
Yeah.
Men have breast cancer too.
Right.
And so it's our own little community, and it's a bond.
Rob, when you say Whipple to somebody that knows, what is their reaction?
Oh my God, you had the Whipple, and you're still here.
That's right.
But, and I think whether it's a traumatic, something like Stephanie and I had, or just any struggles, you can see some people that have had struggles in life that, have more gratitude that you can just kind of pick up on. When I went to Chicago and ran with Project Purple, it was a very emotional, opportunity for me to go and run for a charity that was raising money for pancreatic cancer. But it was just like a community there because everybody had lost someone or somebody or had somebody affected by it. And it was wonderful to have the opportunity to be around all those people.
I think it's a great story. And when we come back, we're going to get into what I've wanted to get into since the conversation started, and that is, how has your faith changed? How was it before? How was it after? Because all these conversations that I have around gratitude and all what I read around gratitude from all the major religions, wherever it comes from, they all say this is key to a successful life, is the power and the experience of gratitude. And I want to hear it from both of your points of view as your own spiritual transformation perhaps has changed, and perhaps how we might see you differently in that regard today. So we're gonna ask some very deep questions when we come back. We're coming up to a break. You're listening to What's Working, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. We'll be right back. 1 week away from Christmas, and I don't know about you, but we've done our fair share to support this local economy. A lot of gifts have been purchased, and my wallet feels a little thin, in pain, hemorrhaging money. Many of you have college tuitions to pay on top of holiday spending. Did you know that Coastal Alabama Community College has the lowest tuition in Alabama? In-state tuition and fees are $160 per credit hour. That means if you take a full load of 15 hours, it'll cost $2,400 a semester. There's so many things you can do at Coastal Alabama Community College. You can get an associate degree and transfer to a 4-year college. You can get an associate degree and go straight into the workforce, or you can get a certificate and join the workforce immediately. There's something for everyone. For more information, check out their website at coastalalabama.edu.
Coastal Alabama Community College is 3 amazing colleges combined into one incredible institution. And that means we're all together. For more sports, 15 more locations, more friends, more one-on-one time with instructors, way more activities, more courses, a lot more courses, and more success for all of us. Pretty much more of everything. Coastal Alabama Community College is where everyone is. All together! Coastal Alabama Community College. Register today.
Is your business growing? Does your existing metal building need an update? Expansion? New roof? With almost 20 years of experience, Mosley Building Systems is the leading metal building contractor along the Gulf Coast. We are your local design build experts. From expansion to new construction or repairs, we can guide you through all aspects of your project. Mosley Building Systems works with each client to fulfill their vision. For more information, go to mosleybuildingsystems.com.
Sitting with Stephanie Anderton, and Rob Stuardi here in the studio. Call in, give us your text, give us your thoughts. The studio number is 251-343-0106. The show is What's Working. I'm Cam Marston, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College, and we've been dancing around this topic, and we've saved it for last because one of the elements of gratitude is I've done my research, and I've heard so many of the people that I've spoken to over the nearly 2 years of this show, and that sound you heard just after that is me boasting a little bit and patting myself on the back. 2 years of this show is an element and a repeated essence of gratitude in all these different people I talk to. Now, as we said before the break, one of the key components of all major religions is a deep sense of gratitude. And I want to hear how your spirituality was before and after. And I'm looking for tidbits you can throw out there to the listeners to say, this is meaningful to me and I can run with it. So, Stephanie, we'll start with you. Faith, gratitude, you before, you after, what's changed?
Well, I've been a believer for about 30 years, 34 years. And so that I first of all, don't know how people go through traumatic experiences without the peace that comes only from the Holy Spirit.
Right.
So that is very hard for me to wrap my brain around how anybody can walk through that. But you know, I have been a believer, and I did know, and you know, I'm still real. I mean, I still had that fear, you know, but God was right there, and there is no doubting that. I would not go back to October 14th of 2008, and if God said, I will take this disease away from you, but all the blessings come with it, I wouldn't do it. There have been so many things that He's shown me through this. He has been steadfast with me. I mean, there's not been a moment that I have not felt completely secure with where He is wanting me to go. This is not about me. This is about Him.
This is the post-traumatic growth that we heard from Tal a little bit earlier that has deepened your faith. Is that accurate to say?
That's accurate to say.
Yeah. So you went from a believer to a believer, and He's out there somewhere to He's on my shoulder at any given moment.
Every minute.
Yeah.
He's always right there.
So it's not a show, I want to clarify, this is not a show about faith, but the people that are most successful from what I've interviewed seem to have this common characteristic. And my exploration is, what is that characteristic? Where does it come from? And perhaps from a selfish point of view, how do I get it to your degree without having to have pancreatic duodenum, whatever Rob had, without having to go through a breast cancer experience? How do I get it? I want some of it. Rob, tell me your story.
Well, I mean, I was, you know, pretty much, thought I was faithful attended church every Sunday, Catholic, went to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, went to church every Sunday, holy days, some days. But, then all of a sudden I get sick. Obviously, we're praying more, have the Whipple surgery, praying a lot, praying to Father Silos over in New Orleans, a lot of prayer. But then just, after, post-Whipple or traumatic event, I think it's really taken I'm more focused on my religion, my faith, my beliefs. I don't know how, I can't say how I would have gotten here without it, but I am here. I try to share that. I don't know that you can duplicate it. I could give this to you, Cam, and say, well, this is how you got to do it. I almost feel like you either got to have some kind of major struggle in life or maybe something traumatic to get you there. But I'm there. I mean, I'm 100% there now, and I don't miss anything that deals with my faith in God, and all I can say is how thankful I am to Him to be here today.
So you went through, Rob, you both went through some traumatic things. We're talking to Rob right now. You went through this thing, and Stephanie said she wouldn't take any of it away. The hardship, the pain, the fear, the diagnosis, nothing. She would not give it away. How do you feel about that?
I agree 100%. When you're going through it, and what was interesting is some of the people that I interacted with was like, man, you're positive. And I was, at that point in time, I think I had just given it to God. It was in His hands. I had the faith, and He was going to take care of me and my family. And I just had the belief, and I turned it over to Him. And it was almost at peace when that happened. And so, that was kind of my transformation.
It's a great story, and it's a story that I hear on a regular basis. And we got 1 minute. This is bad, what I'm about to do. You could put your hands on somebody's shoulders and tell them, this is what you need to know. What are you going to tell them, Stephanie?
They have been chosen and not forgotten.
Oh, Rob, throwing you the hot potato. Less than a minute, Rob.
Right.
I hear your preamble. 30 seconds.
No, one of my favorite quotes is get busy living or get busy dying. Carpe diem, seize the day.
Yeah, good. Folks, you're listening to What's Working. Have a wonderful holiday season. Have a grateful, gratitude-filled holiday season. I want to thank John Thompson. He's the show producer. He's sitting with us tonight. And I want to thank Kristen Ogden, who organizes all these guests. It's been a transformative show for me. Love the live stuff, and I want to thank you guys for sharing your story. And everybody, have a great holiday season.